Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Science Sutra. In this video, I will be discussing about the crop production and management, which I left with some of the topics which I have not discussed in the part 1. Topics that I will be discussing, I will say one by one. What are the topics? Adding manure to the soil, adding manure and fertilizer to the soil, irrigation, protection from weeds, harvesting and storage, food from animals. These are the topics which I will be discussing one by one. In the next slide, you will be seeing the next topic, that is adding manure and fertilizer to the soil. See, first we need to know what is the manure, or why we need to add the manure, that we need to understand. Why we need to add the manure? See, if we grow the crops continuously, what happens? The crops will absorb the essential nutrients from the soil, and hence what happens? The fertility of the soil will be lost. And in order to regain the fertility of the soil, we need to add the manure. That extra nutrients, that whatever we are adding to. Yes, now what is manure, or what are called manure? The substances which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients for the healthy growth of plants are called manure and fertilizers. The manure and fertilizers means, the manure and fertilizers are nothing but the essential nutrients which are added to the soil for the healthy growth of plants are called to be the manure and fertilizers. See, if the crops are cultivated continuously, what happens? If the crops are cultivated continuously, the soil will be poor with essential nutrients. If the crops are cultivated continuously, the soil will be poor with essential nutrients, and hence what the farmer will do? The farmer will add manure in order to regain the fertility of the soil, in order to make the soil enrich with the essential nutrients. In order to make the soil enrich with essential nutrients, what the farmer will do? They will add the manure or fertilizer to the soil. The process of adding manure and fertilizer, what we will call that process as? We will call that process as manuring. What we will call that process as? We will call that process as manuring. I will highlight that word here. That is manuring. Okay. Next, we need to know manure. How we will prepare manure, that we need to know. Okay. Manure is an organic substance obtained from the decomposition of dead plant or animal waste. Farmers dump the plant and animal waste in pits in open places and allow it to decompose. See, what do you mean by that? How you will prepare the manure? See, whatever the wet waste that we are obtaining, whatever the plant waste, whatever the animal waste that we are obtaining, from that we can prepare the organic substance. How we can prepare? How the farmers will prepare? The farmers will dump the plant and animal waste in pits. They will dig some, or they will do some place where they will put all the dead plant or animal waste into that place, and they will allow it to decompose. They will allow for some days. What happens? It will get decomposed into the soil. It will get decomposed into the soil with the help of some microorganisms. The microorganisms can be earthworms. It can be an earthworm. Okay, the earthworm is mainly helpful in order to decompose the dead plant and animal waste. The decomposed matter is used as organic manure. How we will prepare the manure? The manure is said to be an organic substance and it is obtained from the dead plant as well as the animal waste. The farmer, what they will do? They will dump the plant and animal waste in pits in an open places and they will allow it to decompose for some days with the help of the microorganisms. The matter, whatever the dead plant and animal waste they have put in that pits, they will get decomposed by the microorganisms, and after some days you will obtain that dead plant or animal waste will be decomposed and it will be formed in the it will be get or it will change to an organic substance that is called to be the manure. This is how we can prepare the manure. The best example for obtaining the organic manure is vermicomposting. Vermicomposting is the method where the farmers will obtain the manure, okay, using the organisms, mainly the earthworm. Earthworm is used, okay, as an organism, a microorganism which helps in the decomposition, or decomposition is nothing but it will get changed into an essential nutrients which are very helpful for the soil. It will get mixed with the soil, then it will release some nutrients into the soil. That process is nothing but the decomposition, right? Here the earthworms will help in that decomposition and it will make the soil to be rich in nutrients. Next, we need to know about the fertilizers. What are fertilizers? Yes, of course, fertilizers are very much helpful for increasing the fertility of the soil as well as for getting the better yield of the soil, better yield of the crop also. But we need to know the definition of fertilizer. What are fertilizers? We need to know. Yes, fertilizers are particular nutrient such as urea, potassium and sulfate. Fertilizers are nothing but the chemicals which are rich in any particular nutrient such as urea, potassium and sulfate. The fertilizers are produced in factories. This is the main important point. How the fertilizers are produced? The fertilizers are mainly produced in factories. They are not produced in an open field like manure. Okay, the fertilizers are produced in factories. That differences between manure and fertilizers I will discuss a little bit later. Okay, the fertilizers are produced in factories. Then what will be the advantages of using these fertilizers? Yes, fertilizers are used to improve the fertility of soil and helps in getting better yield. That is the best advantage of fertilizer. As not only the advantage you can see the disadvantage also. What happens if we use the excessive fertilizer to the soil? If we use the excessive use of fertilizers, what happens? It results in water pollution and it makes the soil less fertile. See what happens if we are using the fertilizers more and more to the soil, what happens? It will get mixed with the water and it results in water pollution and it makes the soil to be less fertile. It will make the soil to be less fertile. This is the disadvantage of fertilizers. So what is our choice then? So the best choice is the organic manure which helps in improving the soil fertility and also water retaining capacity. Then if we want to choose between the organic manure as well as fertilizer, which one will you choose? Now you will choose the organic manure. Why? Because the advantages that are giving or advantages shown by the manure is more compared to the disadvantages shown by the manure itself, right? So the organic manure which helps in not only helps in soil fertility, it also helps in the water retaining capacity. What do you mean by that? Water retaining capacity. See, if you water the plant, the roots of the plant it should hold the water in it, right? That water retaining capacity will be increased if you add manure to the soil. If you add manure to the soil, the water retaining capacity of the plants will be increased. This is the meaning of that, okay? Water retaining capacity means if you add water to that plant, it will hold the water for a longer time. It will not make the soil to be dried. It will hold the water for a longer time, and that is called to be the water retaining capacity. Next, you have to know about the crop rotation. Next, you have to know about the crop rotation. Why we are discussing manure, fertilizer, crop rotation? Because see, if we grow the crops continuously, what happens? The soil will lost its fertility. In order to regain the fertility of the soil, either we can use manure or we can use fertilizer or we can do the crop rotation. So we have to do the crop rotation also in order to increase the fertility of the soil. This is also one of the method in order to increase the fertility of the soil. See, in order to replenish the nutrients of soil, the crop rotation is also one of the method. The crop rotation, what do you mean by that? The name itself says that crops are grown alternatively. That is, in first cycle they will grow legumes, and then in next cycle other crops like wheat. What do you mean by that? Crop rotation. See, in first cycle what they will do, after the crops has been harvested, after harvesting, what they will do, they will add legumes to that field. Why they will add leguminous plants? You have learned that the leguminous plants, the root nodules of the leguminous plants will have the rhizobium bacteria. What is the function of this rhizobium bacteria? It will fix the atmospheric nitrogen to the soil, and hence it will increase the fertility of the soil naturally. Without adding a fertilizer, you can increase the fertility of the soil by planting the leguminous plants. Okay. Then what all the leguminous plants you can plant here, or the examples I have given here. Green peas, then beans, then you can add what is this, groundnut also you can add, groundnut. These are all comes, these examples whatever I told here, green peas, beans, as well as the groundnut, all these comes under the leguminous plants. Whatever the seed type cereals, seed type food, whatever you are consuming, that comes under the leguminous plants. And then in the next cycle, after harvesting the leguminous plants, it will naturally increase the fertility of the soil. Then what you will do? Then you can plant the other crops like wheat. This is how naturally, by doing the crop rotation, that is by using the leguminous plants, you can increase the fertility of the soil. Next, we need to know about the differences between the fertilizer as well as the manure. What is the differences? What are the differences between the manure and fertilizer? Fertilizer is a man-made inorganic salt. As you know, the fertilizer is said to be produced in the factories, right? So the fertilizer is said to be man-made inorganic salt. Inorganic salt means it is rich in what? Urea, potassium, right? So it is called to be the inorganic salt. Fertilizer is said to be a man-made inorganic salt. Then manure. Manure is a natural substance. Manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung and plant residues, right? See, for the best example for manure which you can give is cow dung. Cow dung also they will use directly for the plants as a fertilizer, right? Sorry, as a Manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung, or you can add here by the decomposition of plant waste as well as animal waste. Plant waste means you can add the dead plant waste as well as the animal waste, whatever that you are putting that in the soil. After few days because of decomposition you will obtain the manure. Then fertilizer is prepared in factories, so it is called to be the man-made substance. Manure can be prepared in the open fields. Then fertilizer do not provide any humus to the soil. Manure provide a lot of humus to the soil. Humus means water retaining capacity. The water retaining capacity that you can provide using the manure, but you cannot provide that by using the fertilizer. Then fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients like nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, whereas the manure is relatively less rich in plant nutrients. They are less rich in, you can write like this, manure is relatively less rich in nitrogen, then potassium, like this you can write. Manure is relatively less rich in nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, whereas the fertilizers are very much rich in the plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Next, the topic which you have to know is about the advantages of manure. What are the advantages of manure? As I told, the fertilizers is said to have many disadvantages compared to the advantages. So, what you will prefer means the organic manure is considered to be better than fertilizer. This you will get to know from the previous slides, right? The organic manure is considered to be the better than fertilizer. Why? Because it helps in soil fertility, right? It helps in soil fertility. Not only in soil fertility, what else it will do? It helps in water retaining capacity also is more in if we use the organic manure. That this water retaining capacity that you cannot see in case of fertilizer. So you cannot, so you can use the fertilizer but to the lesser extent, or else you better go to, or you better prefer the organic manure, which is not having any disadvantage as compared to the fertilizer. Then what all the advantages that I told before only. The manure is mainly helpful to increase the soil fertility, water retaining capacity. See, it enhances the water holding capacity of the soil and it makes the soil porous and helps in exchanging of gases. Then it increases the growth of many microbes which are friendly to the growth of plants. It improves the texture of soil. See, this too is important. What is that? Soil fertility and water retaining capacity. That also comes under the advantages of manure. Then what else it will do? It makes the soil porous. See, if I take this, the soil particles will be like this. Okay, closely, compactly packed like this. See, if I use the manure, what happens? The distance between these particles will be like this, not compactly arranged like this. So what happens? It helps to make the soil porous. You can see the gap between these particles, right? And thus helps in exchanging the gases and helps in exchanging of gases. What is that exchanging of gases means? See, if I want to plant on this soil, I will plant some seeds, or I will sow some seeds in this soil. what happens? If I want to see the growth of the plant, what is the main thing? It need to respire. It need to take the carbon dioxide from the air, right? So if the soil is said to have this kind of particles which are not compactly packed, which helps in exchanging of gases easily. As a result, the plant growth will be fast and you will see the healthy growth of the plant because of the soil porous as well as because of the exchanging of gases. You will see the plant growth to be normal, or you will see the plant growth to be fast when compared to the fertilizer. When you are using the fertilizer to the soil, that comparison I am taking here. Okay, exchanging of gases will also be helpful if we use the manure here. It increases the growth of mini microbes which are friendly to the growth of plants. See, if I use the organic manure, it will helps in the increase of mini microbes. What are microbes here? The microorganisms which are helpful for the decomposition. Best example is earthworm. Earthworm is said to be a microbe or a microorganism which are helpful for the decomposition. That kind of microbes can be increased, or the growth of the microbes can be increased if we are using the organic manure. Then it improves the texture of the soil. It improves the texture of the soil means it will not make the soil to be dried. It will make the soil to have some moisture in it. Moisture in it. That is called to be the texture. Texture of the soil can also be increased by using the manure. It will not make the soil to be dried. It will helps the soil to regain its moisture. That is the main important advantages of the manure. Next slide is about some topic you need to think about. What is that? Why water is important for plants? Why do you think plants need water? Why do you think plants need water? As we know, the plants contain 90% of water and it is essential. Why? Because germination of seeds does not take place under dry conditions. See, what do you mean by this? See, if I will sow one seed into the soil here. This is soil and I am sowing some seed here. Okay. If I want to see the growth of this, or if I want to see this sprouting of the seed, what is mean, or what ingredient is important here? I need to add water. Can you bring sprouts from the dry seed? No, right? The water is very much essential for germination of the seeds. In order to see the sprouts in the seeds, you need water. And to protect the crop from frost and hot air currents and to maintain the moisture of the soil. See, if there is more winds, or if there is more wind is coming in this way, and if this plant is if the soil is dried, it doesn't have any water, then what happens? Because of this blowing of this wind fast, because of the fast blowing of wind, what happens? It will enroot, or it will uproot this plant itself. It will make the plant to fall, right? That means water helps to maintain the moisture of the soil. As a result, it will withhold, or it will overcome the frost as well as the hot air currents. That is fast blowing winds you can overcome if the soil is said to have some moisture. Then how you can achieve that? By adding water to the plants. By adding water to the plants, what happens? It helps in germination. Mainly it helps in germination. It helps in germination of the seeds, and then what else it will do? It helps to protect the crop from frost as well as hot air conditions. Frost means you can say to maintain the temperature to be normal. In order to maintain the temperature to be normal, frost is nothing but ice conditions. Ice condition. In order to maintain or in order to overcome this frost, the plant needs some water, or the soil needs some moisture in it in order to overcome the frost and air currents. Next is about irrigation. What is irrigation? The supply of water to the crops at regular intervals of time is called irrigation. Irrigation means the supply of water to the crops at regular intervals of time is called irrigation. The time and frequency of irrigation mainly depends on crop to crop, soil to soil, and season to season. Why I am saying this? See, if I consider the rice, if I consider the crop of rice or crop of paddy, right? If I take a paddy crop, it requires more water. Okay, it requires more water. If I take wheat, it requires less water. What do you mean by that? The irrigation will depend from crop to crop. If I take paddy, it requires more water. If I take wheat, it requires less water. That means it depends on crop to crop. It depends on crop to crop. Then it will depend on soil to soil. For some soil, you will see the water retaining capacity will be more. Okay, and in some soil, you will see the water will be dried up very fast. As a result, that kind of soil need to be irrigated at regular intervals, and as well as from season to season. See, if you want, or if I will say like this: summer, winter, okay, rainy. I will take 3 seasons here: summer, winter, rainy. In summer, you will see the evaporation process to be rapid compared to winter, compared to rainy. Like this, during summer, you need to irrigate the crops frequently, or more times you need to irrigate when compared to winter, when compared to rainy. So, that is the thing which I am explaining here. The time and frequency of irrigation mainly depends on crop to crop, soil to soil, as well as season to season. For example, in summer, the frequency of watering is higher because of more evaporation of water from the soil and leaves. That is what I explained here. Next, the sources of water. Then where you will get the water for irrigation, for watering the plants. From where you will get? You will get from wells, tube wells, ponds, lakes, rivers, dams, canals. These are the sources of water through which you can do the irrigation. Next, you need to know the types of irrigation. First is the traditional methods of irrigation. What do you mean by that? Traditional methods. Traditional methods are nothing but the manual methods. Manual means which we will do by hand. That is called to be the manual methods. The water available in the wells, lakes, canals is lifted up by different methods in different regions. See, as we all know, the wells, lakes and canals are the sources of the irrigation or the sources of water. Then how you will do in traditional method? You will lift up manually. By different methods that I will discuss one by one. Okay, manually you can use, or else you can use the cattle, as well as human labor is used in these methods. So these methods are cheaper and also less efficient. You cannot do the work fast, so it is called to be the less efficient. Why it is called cheaper? since we are doing by ourselves, it is called to be the cheaper method also. The cattle and human labor. The cattle we will use for doing irrigation, as well as the human beings will also be used in order to do the irrigation. That is called to be the traditional methods of irrigation. The various traditional ways are pulley system, chain pump, Dekli, Rahat system. These are the four varieties that you will see in the traditional methods of irrigation. First is moat or pulley system. See what in this picture itself you will get to know. In your syllabus it is not there in detail, but only the names they have made. See, in this picture what you will observe, what this man is doing, he is putting the bucket into this well, and through the pulley he is pulling the bucket out, and whatever the water he is collected is pouring into this canal. This canal will be directly connected to the crops. Okay, so he is watering the crops like in this way. He is using the bucket through the pulley, he is pulling the water from the well, and he is pouring into this canal. Okay, this is the picture which you will see in your textbook. Next, chain pump. Chain pump. Here you will see two circles. Okay, two pulleys you will see here. This one, 2, and these two, they are connected. They are connected like this, and to this they will attach the empty buckets. This is the water source. This is the water source. What it will do, if we pump, or if we do the action here, this, it will come like this, and it will come down. It will take the water into that empty buckets, and it will go up like this, and it will pour into this canal. This canal will be directly connected to the crops. This is also one method. Next is Dekli. Dekli means, here in this figure you can see here what this man is doing. He is putting this bucket into the well. Okay, what this man is doing, he is putting the bucket into the well, and how he is doing, he is pulling this stick. He is pulling, or he is making the stick up, and he is putting that bucket into the well, and he is taking out that water from the well, and he is pouring into this canal. Like this he is doing manually, and this is also one of the traditional method. Next is Rahat system. Here you can see the bull is pulling, or bull is moving in the circular shape. This bull is moving in this circular shape. Okay, what happens, since this bull is moving in this circular shape, it will rotate this what you call this circle. It will rotate this circle, and to the circle you will see the empty buckets, and this circle will be made on the water source. Here you can see the water source. On the water source you will see the chain, or you will see this circle. What this circle will do, after the bull make one rotation, this pulley or this circle will also make one rotation, and it will take out all the water from the water source through these buckets, and it will get poured into the canals which are directly connected to it. This is also one of the traditional method, in which you will see the bull is using, okay, for watering the plants. In the next slide you will be seeing the modern methods of irrigation. In modern methods you will see two types. One is sprinkler system and the drip irrigation, that I will discuss later. First we need to know what is sprinkler system. Sprinkler system is more useful in uneven lands where sufficient water is not available. Sprinkler system is mainly useful for the lands or for the farmers who doesn't have the water. Uneven lands means, say, I will show you. See, if the land is like this, okay, that is said to be even. Okay, if the land is like this, you will say uneven, right? In that case, you will use the sprinkler system. Not only in the uneven lands, even if the water scarcity is more, in that place also you can use the water. Okay, you can use the water. You can use the sprinkler system. Then how it will be designed, or how it is designed? It consists of the perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles on top, and these pipes are joined to main pipe at regular intervals. I will show the figure in the next slide. Okay, just see here. It consists of the perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles on top, and these pipes are joined to main pipeline at regular intervals. Then how it will work? See, when water is allowed to flow through the main pipe, it will also get passed through the perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles, and because of the pump, it will also escape through the rotating nozzles and it gets sprinkled on the crops. Okay, this is how the working of the sprinkler system. Then where you will use this kind of sprinkler system? You will use in your lawns, or you can use in the coffee plantations, as well as you can use for the growth of, or for irrigating the other crops also. Sprinkler system. Here you can see this is the main pipe, and you can see here the perpendicular pipes also. You can see the perpendicular pipes also here. This one, 2, 3, 4. These are the perpendicular pipes which are arranged at the equal intervals. When water is flown through this main pipe, it also flows through this perpendicular pipe, and through the rotating nozzles it will get sprinkled in all directions, and it also irrigates the crops. This is how it works. You can see it. This is the rotating nozzle. What it will do? It will rotate in all direction, 360-degree direction. It will rotate and it will sprinkle the water to the crops. Next is the drip irrigation. What is this? Drip irrigation. This is a type of irrigation where water falls drop by drop. Drip means getting drop by drop. Drop by drop irrigation is called to be the drip irrigation. It is best type of irrigation where water scarcity is more. This is also same thing which you have seen in the sprinkler irrigation also. It is mainly a best technique for watering the fruits, plants, gardens, as well as for trees. Okay, for trees also you can use for this type of drip irrigation. You can see in fruits, plants, as well as in your gardens also you can use this drip irrigation. The main advantage is it will not waste a single drop of water. That is the main important advantage or main important thing of this drip irrigation. Here you can see this, through this pipe the droplets is falling down to this seedling. Okay, and here you can see this pipe is connected. Okay, and it is connected directly to the crop itself, where when the water is flown through this main pipe, it will directly flows through the crop. Okay, drop by drop. So it is called to be the drip irrigation. Next is protection from weeds. First we need to know what are weeds. many undesirable plants which are grown along with the crop are called the weeds. What do you mean by that? Many undesirable plants. So if you grow the wheat, along with wheat you can see many other plants growing, and that plants are called to be the weeds. Weeds means many undesirable plants grown along with the crop, and these plants are called to be the weeds. Then what is weeding? Weeding is nothing but the process of removing the weeds are called weeding. Then why we need to remove the weeds? Why we need to remove the weeds? Because what happens if we allow the weeds to grow? What happens if we allow the weeds to grow? It will absorb all the essential nutrients which it need to be absorbed by the main crop. See, if I want to grow the wheat, if I want to grow the wheat, it need to absorb, right? What all the other plants that is growing along with the wheat cannot absorb the essential nutrients. That is the reason why we need to remove the weeds. So that is the reason why we need to remove the weeds which are grown along with the crops. I will read out once here. Weeds, when grown along with the crops, what it will do? It will absorb all the essential nutrients and water from soil, and hence it results in improper growth of crop, and it does not give better yield of the crop. See, if it absorbs all the essential nutrients, what happens? Whatever the growth of the crop which we need to see, that we cannot see because of the weeds which are absorbing all the nutrients that are required for the main crop. Then how we can remove the weeds, that we need to know. Farmers adopt many ways. What are the ways they will adopt? Such as tilling before sowing, which helps in uprooting and killing of seeds, killing of weeds. What happens? Tilling means the process of loosening the soil, right? That is called to be the tilling. And if we do that tilling also, it will help in uprooting the weeds. Using seed drill. Seed drill also helps in removing the weeds. And manually how we can do with the help of kurfi. Kurfi is the instrument which is used to remove the weeds, that we can do manually. And weeds can also be controlled by using weedicides. Weedicides are nothing but the chemicals that we are using in order to kill the weeds. Then what are weedicides? We need to know. Weedicides are nothing but the chemicals which are used to kill the weeds are called weedicides. Weedicides, the main disadvantage of weedicides is weedicides may affect the health of farmers, and hence while using that the farmers need to close their mouth and nose with a piece of cloth. That is the main important thing the farmers need to do while using the weedicides. Okay, then when we need to remove the weeds, that is the important point here. When we need to remove the weeds, we need to remove the weeds before it starts flowering. Before it starts flowering and fruiting, before that time only we need to remove the weeds. That is the best time of removing the weeds. Next, harvesting. What is that harvesting? What do you mean by that harvesting? After getting the crop, will you make that crop to be in that place only? No, you have to cut the crop, right? The cutting of the crop after it is matured is called harvesting. The cutting of the crop after it is matured, after it has grown to its full length, we have to cut the crop, and that process is called to be harvesting. Then how we can do the harvesting? Harvesting is done manually using the sickle or by a machine called harvester. Harvester, either you can use a harvester or you can do using sickle. Sickle, this is an instrument which is used for harvesting. And after harvesting the crop, the grains need to be separated from chaff. Chaff means the dried thing, whatever the crops that we have harvested, it has to be separated from the chaff, and the process is called to be threshing. Threshing means, see, whatever the crop or whatever the grains that is present in the plants, okay, that is present in that crops, that has to be removed, and the process is called to be threshing. Then how we can do threshing? Threshing is done by a machine called combine. Combine is a machine which it will do both the things. It will do the harvesting also, and it will do the threshing. Threshing means removing the grain from the chaff, or you can say from the crops. Or removing the grains from the crops, that is called to be the threshing. And using the combine machine, you can do harvesting as well as threshing. And one more method is there for threshing. What is that? Winnowing. Winnowing is another method for threshing, which you have learned in the 6th standard. What is that? See, if we put the harvested crop into this, it will get separated here. First, one outlet will be for grains and one outlet will be for the chaff. The chaff also will be separated, as well as the grains also will be separated through winnowing. Next is about storage. After harvesting, what you will do? You need to store the grains. Then how you will store? That is the main important thing here. The harvested grains have more moisture. Whatever the crops that we have harvested, it contains water. So what we have to do? We have to put that, or we have to dry it under the sun, and after that only we have the moisture, and hence what we have to do? We have to dry that under the sun, and after that it need to be stored. Then how we can store the grains? That is the main question. What is that? If the grains are dried only, then it prevents attack of insects, pests, bacteria and fungi. See, if you will see the wet in the grains, after few days what you will see? You will see the growth of fungi, bacteria, and you will see the pest over there, and you will see the insects also moving around that grains. So we have to dry that under the sun, then only we have to store. Then how we can store that grains? The farmers will store the grains in jute bags. They will store that in jute bags or metallic bins. They will use the metallic bins, or they will use the jute bags. Then how they will store? In large scale storage is done in silos. Silos or granaries. Granaries means, here this is the place where you can see the storage of the grains in the jute bags. They have stored the grains in the jute bags, and they have kept in one place, that is called to be the granary. Or you can store that in silos. Silos, this is the place where you can see the storage of the grains, that is called to be the silos. The large scale storage, if you want to store the grains which are of larger in quantity, then you have to store that in either in silos or granaries to protect them from rats and insects. Why we have to store? In order to protect from bacteria, fungi, pests, insects, right? From all these things we have to protect. Sorry. Then at home, how we can store the grains, right? Then at home we can store the grains using neem leaves. Your mother will be stored the grains using green leaves. You may observe that. You can observe that, okay? Using neem leaves, you can store the grains at home. Next slide, the food from animals. What is that? Food from animals. See, till now we have discussed one source of food. What is that source? we have discussed about the plants, right? Plants is one source of food. Then what else? Animals also called to be the source of food. Till now we discussed about the plants. It's what flowing, sowing. Then what you will do? Then you will add manure, right? Adding manure. Then what else you will do? You will harvest the crop. Then you will store the grains, like this, so on. The process goes on. Till now we have discussed about one source of food, that is plants. Now, as we all know, animals also need to be taken care. Why we need to take care? In order to get the food from animals, we need to maintain, or we need to take care of the animals also. Fish, right? Meat, then eggs, then milk. Then how we all getting these things? We need to maintain the animals, we need to take care of the animals, and that place where we are taking care of animals for a larger extent, that is called to be animal husbandry. It is the place where you will see the taking care of the animals for getting these things: fish, meat, eggs and milk. That is called to be the animal husbandry. And this completes this chapter. Thank you. And if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. And in my next video, I will be coming with the exercise part of this chapter and few extra questions. Thank you.